So it is almost 8 o'clock at night, which is not the time I planned to be starting this. I thought I'd get up to bed and start working on this before I went to sleep. Absolutely the fuck not. This January, I have decided to be absolutely fucking bonkers because last year I tried to do this over the course of a year and that was too much and I burned out. So we're gonna start 2026 off by burning myself out in the first month of the year instead. And that is, this video is, why am I telling you this? You can see the title. In line with that, I have like a big list of places that I either talk about like where you can submit and also like various competitions and things. I have some rules for myself. Publication is fine, but not if it's like to a traditional publisher. And for the same reason, if the prize involves like getting an agent, that is off the table. Because I made a promise to my readers, which is ebooks are always going to be either free or pay what you will. And so traditional publishing will absolutely want ebook rights, and I can't give it to them because I promised you. I did have like a budget set aside of it was like £25 and then £50 and then 30. I haven't entirely decided at this point. Speaking of budget, I have already signed up to one in advance. It's Writing Battle, and that's because they were doing like an early bird price. So I signed up back in either November or December, and that's not going to start until about mid-month. And then it's one of those ones where it's like you get a selection of prompts, and I think there were 2 or 3 rounds, and you have like half a week to a week to write whatever it is that you're gonna submit. The problem with doing this the way that I'm doing it, of course, is that submitting is not the same as getting responses, you know. So we're going to see what we end up doing. I'm not going to do any writing today actually because it's a bit late and I am kind of tired. But yeah, I am just going to be talking about the writing here. We're probably not going to get many results during the course of this, and I'm not going to like do a separate like results video, so this is purely a writing exercise. And like I said, burning myself out over the course of a year did not work. We're trying this in January because I feel like if this works, and because of like the time it takes for people to like go through entries, it might help me at least through like the first half of the year. There will be resource links below, and I will put like a little asterisk next to the ones that I actually entered. We'll probably be talking about like what the actual process of entering it is like, if you want to know that for yourself, if you also want to enter. Yeah, and that's about it. So I will see you for the actual writing tomorrow. Okay, so these are the links that I have currently. I don't know what the asterisk is for. I thought perhaps that would have been one of the ones where the date was January 1st, but apparently not. The Google Docs are for a place called Coin Operated Signs. It's a wee place in Glasgow. There will be more as the month goes on. Obviously, Dan Pratt has like a compilation of places you can submit, and the Scottish Book Trust and Scottish BPOC Network will have emails coming out with more places during the month. Okay, so Bow and Chariot, the Wilkin Writing Prize and archetype editing all expired on the 1st, which is bonkers. I get wanting options, but that would have been stressful. At the end of January 2nd, I wrote 108 words for the T-Sign. This is a writing challenge for me. I did consider submitting art, but thought better of it. One of the things they say you can submit is a review, and I didn't want to do that. But I was thinking about some tea that I got for Christmas that wasn't quite as good as I had hoped it would be, partly due to my own fault. And so the idea, which I feel was very strong, was even a pleasure smaller than you expected is still a pleasure, but it's just not coming out on page. The plan for today is to try another draft of this, to try and make it work. If it doesn't, I really hate giving up on an idea this quick into it, but there is something else I could do for the teasing. And I might have better luck with that, but no. Discipline is a thing that I'm not great with, and so I really just don't want to toss this aside like that. In slightly worse news, I've put the New York City Midnight Writing Competition. I put the ticket price into a currency calculator. It is £46. So I do think I need to up my budget for the month to £100. This is still probably too expensive to justify. And the writing battle one that I've already entered and paid for because it was on the early bird price, I paid $23.31 for that. So yes, I might have to reconsider some things. A quick little update on the things I finished my second draft of Tea, and I really liked it, even though I only got up to 122 words. That being said, I'm just going to leave it, and I'm going to go back to it tomorrow and see. At minimum, I prefer like 3 drafts. Even if not much is changing, I just want to write the thing, leave it a bit, and then check on it, just to make sure it wasn't like the high of getting it done that gave me rose-coloured glasses. Runes and Rituals. Runes and Rituals, I think, is the first of the year theme for Indie Bites. That's it, Indie Bites. And I saw that and immediately knew what I wanted to write, so I'm doing that. But I knew what I wanted to write long before I got to the end of the submissions page. You only get like a £5 honorarium for it, and it's fine because like I can, after the exclusivity period ends in like 3 months, I can publish it as its own ebook, which is fine. But I just think it's really funny that I did this challenge because I thought I can set myself up for at least like the first half of the year. So despite the positive feelings that I had yesterday, I don't like this draft of Tea. We're back down to 100 words, which I don't think, like, again, I don't think that's bad because there isn't like a word count and the signs are pretty small. But I'm also realizing that because this is like a thing where I submit the pieces, I probably can't do my usual writing vlog thing, which is to show you what I'm writing, which is annoying because I would love to do that. And I don't know how to make this visually interesting otherwise, but it's all I got. Oh boy, I think, do you remember when I fucked up my eye? Does this look more exposed here than here? I can see a vein going from. Yeah, I think it's come back again. Fuck. Okay, so this had actually slipped my mind in the whole writing battle thing, but you have to choose your class before before the actual, what are words, before the actual battle starts. So I was very tempted by cleric, but I think in the end I'm gonna just stick with fighter. I am noting the lack of druid though. So we've held fast at 100 words for the T submission. I fixed some typos. Honestly, I might end up, like crying on camera tomorrow, like, oh god, I just realised something that would make this so much better. But it's gone. It's submitted. I'm not unhappy with it. It was just kind of getting to the stage now of I've looked at it so many times. I don't see the thing that to change to make it better. And rather than just keep staring at it, I'm just going to send it. So I did, and it's gone. On the 9th, I got 32 words written of the second draft of Runes and Rituals. This is why I tend not to enter competitions or submit work. My core memory of a competition was one that Mum sent to me, and I think it was tied in some way to Stephen King. I started writing it and I knew it wasn't going to be a short story. And so I never submitted it, but I never finished it as a novel either. While the second draft did immediately feel stronger, I was deeply unhappy with it on some level. The first sentence of the original was, a cold breeze stirred at Lou's sleeve and drew her eye to the high moon above in the height of its power, which I really like, but perhaps because I was working on like a fake game for so long, this just felt like a cutscene to me. It's not inherently bad, but I do think there is a problem when you lean too much on the aesthetics of another medium. Video games are great, movies are great, that's not a book, And if you're going to write a book, there has to be a reason you're choosing to write a book over making like a video game or a film. And so I was quite unsatisfied. So today has been the absolute joy of editing a video and then realizing that, I misremembered the competition guidelines. So, I want to point out Word Taffy, which came up on Instagram. I am not really a poetry person, but they are currently open to submissions. Obviously, again, might not be the case when you see the video, but you can always check back with them. And then also this, come on, this looks interesting. Disabled Tales, which discusses disability in fairy tales and folklore. So yeah, this is also here. There's also a place called Nigel with a Y. I'm not gonna show it, but they are also accepting submissions. I also wanted to shout this one out because most of the stuff I've been talking about has been fiction, but this is a call for non-fiction. So if you're more in that kind of side of things, this might be more interesting to you. And then the London Independent Story Prize does flash fiction, short story, and poetry. On day 10, Runes and Rituals went from 32 to 109 words, but I ended the day by deleting 18. It's difficult to gauge how much things would have changed when you're working on a scale of thousands. And here's another place that is accepting submissions. On day 11, Runes and Rituals went from 109 words to 347. It took me this long to finally get out of my head enough to skip forward over the part that was giving me difficulty. But I remained very unsure for quite a while about adding in someone else. On day 12, Runes and Rituals went from 347 to 607 words, and unfortunately that was when I got stuck in the word flask, because it sounded too modern, but I couldn't settle on anything else. And at this point I was starting to wonder if I was doing this at the right time. I am also attempting to kind of create a curriculum for myself over this year, certain books to read over certain months, and I think I would be much better served writing this at the end of the year. But the big question at this point was, am I giving up too easily, or is this the sunk cost fallacy? Wild Hunt Books is also open for submission in a wee bit, not when this video is going up, but they do have some open submissions every now and then. They did include this, however, which will be. On day 13, I wrote 153 words of Runes and Rituals Draft 3. So I may have gotten my dates mixed up. It's tomorrow, I think. I've just noticed that you can draw an extra card, but I will not be doing that because that doesn't feel in the spirit of doing a challenge in the first place. So there's this thing I've been writing that was self-indulgently to come out on the 22nd, but in all likelihood it's not even finished, so it's going to be next year, 22nd next year. And I've been thinking about that because I had an idea for it and I was writing it and it just wasn't working. And I think it wasn't working because I strayed from like the original idea. Like, Kill Your Darlings does work sometimes, but sometimes the darling is the point. And I've been working on this Runes and Rituals thing, and I just started a third draft, and I thought, fuck it. Why did I go into the past tense like I usually write? Why did I, like, I get what I was trying to do with the second draft, but I went back to like the first sort of present tense, and it's so much better. I was right the first time. Sometimes the darling is the point. On day 14, Rituals and Runes went up to 447 words, and Biopunk was at 991. So this feels a little bit like a nightmare, but I'm going to have a Google, going to have a deep dive in Wikipedia, and then we're going to see if I can do anything with this. We're not going to redraw. Okay, so first off, thanks to Mum. Second, just a quick little update on Runes and Rituals. I think another thing that Ripperfunk. I think I was getting caught up on was the fact that I don't know how temples are laid out, because this is what happened to me with like books inspired by the tomb robbing genre. I was like, I don't know how tombs are laid out, which is stupid when you're working with fantasy, because it's like, well, I wasn't even going to be setting it in China. I was going to be in a world inspired by like xianxia and stuff. So why am I like... But I always get stuck in like the nitty gritty. Anyway, I don't know what this... I know kind of what it looks like in my head. It's probably got nothing to do with temples in real life. But yeah, we've been really getting stuck in that. Okay, you know what? That's kind of what I was thinking anyway. So I'm probably not going to Wikipedia this. Maybe after like a first draft, and then I can edit it down to be more to the genre. But yeah, if this is anything like Runes and Rituals is going, however, 500 words is going to be really hard to hit. Day 15, Biopunk Draft 2 got to 314 words. Not surprising that it crashed, given the progress that I made the day before. However, I do want to point out what the other possibilities were in genre. These were revealed via email. Cryptid fiction, fantasy high school, hidden dungeon, underdog story, space farce, time travel, swashbuckler, and cozy mystery. I think it's good that I stuck to my guns, because if I'd gotten space farce, I might have cried. On day 16, Draft 2 of Biopunk went from 314 words to 1008. Biopunk Draft 3 went to 977 words, Poison Blooms at 83, and I stopped there. As much as I really like the idea of this strange discovered child, I did do this for a reason. And as few writing opportunities that interest me and are also compatible with what I do, I really need to stop writing for places that don't pay. On day 17, I wrote nothing. I had a day out with friends, and it was much needed and very appreciated. However, I did go and peruse danpartrights.co.uk and was looking specifically at Ironclad Creative. Belladonna's Garden is a little... I've never submitted here before. I just think gothic and cozy... I think you can find a really interesting space in the friction between the two. I am going to try and submit, however. And here we have their other open publication times, if anyone's interested in that. So this has come in, and I'm probably not going to show you all of the different resources because I don't want to. On day 17, I wrote nothing. I had a day out with friends, and it was much needed and very appreciated. However, I did go and peruse danpartrights.co.uk and was looking specifically at Ironclad Creative. On the 18th, Biopunk Draft 4 was submitted as Session 2. It was 993 words, and it was nerve-wracking. It was actually, I think, my second submission of the day. The first one was not writing competition related. I do not ever want to submit to more than one place in a single day ever again. The nerves, they were racking. But yeah, I was very worried about it because none of the drafts were included any drastic changes, which I know is not inherently necessary, but it did worry me very much all the same. On the 20th, I wrote 46 words for FFF, the free flash fiction competition. This was another one that I found on danpartrights.co.uk, like the Ironclad Creative one. There are 6 places to vie for, which doesn't increase my odds by that much, but I will take any increase of odds over none. On the 22nd, FFF went from 46 to 78 words, and FFF1 went to 91. It was really energizing to get that feedback, at least for a short while, but not enough to offset the illness. And also, it did not take me long to realise that, hey, prose being the best part of your writing does not mean that your writing was any good. And that's kind of stuck with me ever since. But, you know, all the feedback has made me happy, so it hasn't diluted it too much. So I'm going to go a little bit behind the scenes again today. We're up to 78 words for the free flash fiction one. I'm gonna just scrap this. I really like it, but I really liked it at like 48 words, and I don't want to keep like dragging it out because I thought this would be an interesting one where you just do like a scene and it can be like no people really involved, no people actually like on page. But yeah, that's and yeah, I'm probably going to kick myself because I might find somewhere I want to send this, and this will count as publication, but whatever. The sun was setting, all in shades of blue and peach. Its light was swallowed by the dark horizon, and only disturbed by the skimming of stone that sunk beneath the frothing foam. A jagged scrap of grey stone, rough and roughly scrawled upon, the word flashed, spinning into shadow. Hope, hope, hope. I also want to point out this story, which highly commended. I don't think it won, but it's really good. On day 23, FFF1 went from 91 words to 276, and I found an unrealism that I think really worked. My fingers were itching to edit all the while as I was writing, but I didn't. I was good, and I really thought this could be perfect. On the 24th, for FFF2, I wrote 283 words. For FFF3, I wrote 280. For FFF4, I wrote 300. And the amount of time that I spent debating whether I flinch or I flinched was the better option, I don't want to tell you. I did think I flinch was... No, we're not going to get into this. It didn't even make it into the final draft. On the 25th, FFF4 remained at 300 words, but there was a lot of fiddling going on during the day, especially when I realised that I had gotten to a perfect 300 words and I had missed out a word. But we got there. Nicole Frill Books is a very small indie publisher, but they've been around for about a year, maybe two now. They often run competitions. This one looked really interesting, especially because it's one that they're going to be running every few months, it seems. Unfortunately, as an indie publisher, they do want ebook rights, and therefore it is not right for me, but you might find a good place with them. Quick note to say that there is this, which I don't know. It's 400 words, so it's very short. And I know I have been working with short, more and more, but I don't know. It feels 400 feels so constrictive. Less so for me is the booby prize, and this does help to go to charity. It's another short one. I think it's about 1,000 words, but you'd have to check that yourself. But it's a good cause, so I thought I'd shout it out. And another good cause is cattails. The only reason I'm not thinking of cattails for myself is the prize. Like, if that's something that you like, that's something that you like, but it doesn't really help me. So I've been trying to review BookBeat for months, and it's just like sand through an hourglass. I keep forgetting, and I keep forgetting, and I keep forgetting. And there was a really good offer at the end of December where you could get an entire month for £10, and I thought, great, okay, we can do this. And I forgot again. And I forgot to cancel the subscription. So I will probably go back to that one, I think, Indie Bites. See if I can finish that for the end of the month, because or even maybe not. No, actually, I think no, because Indie Bites does charge, actually, and I don't have money for that now. So that's just, it's wiped out a huge swath of them for me. I absolutely do have to get off of Instagram, but these started popping up and they look really good. The yellow one, the 6 lip mags you gotta submit to this week, and why. They look really good. They look really good. I haven't checked if they cost anything. On the 31st for Runes and Rituals Draft 4, I wrote 114 words. Yeah, I just woke up, so we're not going to talk about the hair. It's past 11:30 at night, and so I don't think we're going to get much more than the 114 words in draft 4, the new draft of Runes and Rituals. It is, again, the Indie Bites submission, 28th of February, I think. It's pretty broad, but the more I look at it, the more I'm not sure this fits. But we will see. As we know, I've been really struggling with getting a higher word count, which just feels so weird to me as someone who used to aspire to 1,000-page books. Because that's what I like to read at the time. But yeah, I've changed the perspective character, and I'm hoping that does something for it. But I don't have the highest hopes for that either, so this just might have to be tucked away somewhere, and if I see an open call, I'll send it. But this is what I'm currently working on, and this is where we're closing out the month. Unfortunately, I don't think it's nowhere near as successful as I wanted it to be, but I got some things away. I feel more confident in submitting things, although I will endeavour not to submit several things on the same day for quite a while. But yeah, I think I've got good things from it, even if it's not great things, and I'm proud of the work that I've done. At the end of January, in total, I spent £27.71. £23.31 of that was in August for the writing battle at a discounted early bird price, and £4.40 for FFF. Thank you for watching. I hope that the links below are useful to you. If you are interested in my writing, which unfortunately I couldn't share much of here, there is Tales of Devran and Others, my blog. It is unfortunately no longer being updated. WordPress and Tumblr are owned by the same parent company, and it was very nefarious when it first announced it would be scraping data, and so I was very annoyed at that and just kind of abandoned it. But there are a lot of stories there that I do really love. If you want some more current writing, however, there is my Patreon, Little Pisces Dreaming. It is only £1 for access to the writing. I'm currently working on new chapters of Keep My Eye on the Chamber Door, a secondary world fantasy. Contemporary, kind of a little bit mafia-ish. Not very, but there are a lot of factions and a big cast of characters, if that's the kind of thing you like. I'm rambling now. Thank you for watching. Bye.